Back again. Gonna do this 2 days in a row, why not? So, day 2, my adventure back in the world of Warcraft. So, left off, hit 101, had no really idea what I was doing, so here we go. So, I get some better information from JD about what I'm supposed to do and how I do things. I was like, alright, cool, got it, fantastic. So I get myself to 102. And he tells me that the thing that I run in for leveling is actually your tank spec. And I said, that's kind of weird. Why wouldn't I run in a DPS spec? He goes, for survivability. I said, okay, makes sense. No problem. I'll jump into a tank spec. So I go in. I go back to my little area to go pick up another artifact quest. And I pick up the one to go do my tank spec, my guardian spec. But I didn't know how to change specs, or if you could even change specs without the weapon, so I just kind of jumped in, and all you have to do is really just defend. And the only move I really had was like a swipe, and one that would hit like multiple enemies at any given time. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, no problem. So, yeah, like a dumbass, I did the entire quest in my restoration spec as a guardian, so I can still turn into a bear. So, surprisingly enough, I did it. Did it first try. I was like, yes, I did it, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. So I get my second weapon, right? I have it in my inventory, and I say, okay, that's great. I have a second weapon. How do I put it on? And I'm sitting there looking, and I'm looking, and I keep, it's in my inventory, and I keep clicking on it, I keep on a right click, I try to drag it, I try to inspect it, I try to do everything, and keep saying, requires spec guardian. And I was like, oh, okay, so I jump online, I'm trying to look for it, and I really didn't know what I was looking for. I guess just change specs, Legion, just good old friend Google, and I couldn't find the answer. I still couldn't find the answer. I was like, what the hell? Why can't I find the answer to this question? I just want to switch this weapon. I just want to switch specs. Because my understanding is that the spec, right, equipping the weapon changes the spec, but it doesn't change the spec. No, you actually have this panel that you can go to. And finally, I texted JD. I said, JD, man, you got to help me out. How the hell do I change specs? He goes, press the N key. Oh, the N key. I never would have thought of that. So I pressed N. There comes my specs. I select Guardian. I switch into Guardian. It puts the claws on me automatically. So now I'm in tank spec. So now I'm running around with JD, both of us playing tank-like characters and doing that. And I got a quest from the starting zone to go do an instance. And I said, oh, well, this should be fun. Like, I haven't run an instance in a long time, but I'll switch back to Resto. He's going to tank, and we'll just do it like the good old days. Well, we jump into the instance, and he's explaining every fight to me. Most of them are good old tank and spank fights. A couple small things here to know about positioning and everything else, but, nothing too major. And we jump in, and I'm having trouble because I haven't healed in a while, and one of the things that's taken away from a Resto Druid at an early level is the healing touch ability, and that was always my, spam healing touch after putting all of the heal over time spells and so on. Well, that spell doesn't exist right now. It exists later, but you don't have it at that level. And I said, oh crap, and I was struggling. I mean, no one died. I survived the whole thing without anyone dying. We made it in one shot, and I was all happy for myself. But of course, we're talking over Skype, and he's like, you're making me nervous with this. I said, I'm nervous as hell. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I know what I'm doing. I have all my hots. I'm placing my hots. I have efflorescence. I have that on the ground. I have that healing. Everything. I have hots everywhere. Hots for days. You get a hot, and you get a hot, and you get a hot. But it wasn't enough. And then, reading the tooltips on things like, Life Bloom doesn't only heals one target. It can only be applied to one target. So by switching Life Bloom over to someone else, I keep canceling the effect on the first person. I was like, shit. Oh, this is why reading is fundamental. I just assumed that the spell still worked the way that it used to. At least I think it used to work that way. I don't really remember. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've played. So finish that instance up. I'm like, all right, thank freaking God, that's done. That's done. I don't have to worry about that anymore. Go back to questing. I jump off a couple of cliffs because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing at all. I died in areas that I can't retrieve my corpses because apparently in Legion there's a shit ton of like cliffs everywhere. There are cliffs all over the place in Legion that you can just die. You just fall off the cliff and you're dead, and then you can't get to your corpse. So you can't get to your corpse. What happens? You have to go ahead and take res sickness. You take res sickness, it means you're pretty much worthless for 10 minutes. You can't do anything. So there's time I'm just sitting there in town. I'm like, oh well, I'll just go back to town. I'll sell my wares. I'll go check into trying to find stuff or trying to apply my artifact power for my weapons and everything else. And then that was a whole discussion. It's like artifact power. So where do you take the artifact power? Do you use the artifact power? Do you hold on to the artifact power? What do you do? Well, what spec are you going to play? Well, I think that I'm going to play Resto in endgame at least. But you get all these benefits from putting stuff in there. Like, well, use all this smaller artifact power, so you discover them through chests and everything else. So you get here's 10 here, here's 20, here's 35, whatever it is. Use those. But all the ones that are 100, 150, 200, 300, whatever it is, save those for what you think is going to be your end game, which, Resto, I think. Pretty sure Resto. Because trying to play end game in DPS without having friends that play the other classes, like the other roles, like your tanks and your healers, then you're just going to sit there and wait forever to try and get into a group. So I think that I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my healing spec is ready to go, and then I got to get my game nice and strong again. But I mean, that was it. I mean, I say it's day 2, but I'm kind of like going into like a couple days because I'm not going to keep on doing this for every single day that I'm playing WoW. I've definitely played more days than this. I'm just recalling the first 2 days now. But a lot of that, so I went back in and I discovered glitch after glitch with my 3rd artifact quest. I went back and I found my feral one. And I said, well, if I can just switch the feral spec, then I don't have to worry about switching out my trinkets and my rings and my necklace and everything else. Everything sticks with the primary stat. So agility, no problem. So I go and do that, and I do the first phase. Not really paying attention to... Oh, you know what? I gotta talk about the first one after this. I don't think I actually brought this up during the first video, but I'll talk about that in a second. But so I'm sitting there. You got to stealth. And I stealth and I make it through, and then you gotta jump on this thing, and I jump on a thing, and I jump over another thing, and I land on a thing, I fight a guy, and at one point I think I died, I don't remember, but I had to start again, and then I had to start a second time, and then the third time I was like trying to find which way to go, because he just disappeared, and I was like, oh, I gotta go find him, I gotta go follow him, and I stepped into a puddle, like on the ground, right, and when I stepped into the puddle, it actually phased me out of the whole encounter and put me into the actual normal zone, and everything was level 110 and I was like level 104, and I was like, oh no, I need to run, and I hearth back, I go back in, and then it's like, oh, we have to start the phases all over again. It doesn't leave you off on the phase that you run. I was like, shit, why is it so again I run the whole thing and finally beat it. I get my 3rd set of weapon, or my 3rd artifact weapon. It's cool, I have it. But to bring up the resto thing, and I talked about it a little bit yesterday, but the one thing I didn't bring up, and there's nothing that mentioned this, is that there was a spell that resto druids have to like remove status ailments from a person, and the whole thing is it puts you into the nightmare, and you're in the nightmare, and you have to make your way out, but there's all kinds of enemies around. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll just fight my way out. Cool, no problem. Well, as soon as you just get touched by something, it starts to increase like your nightmare meter. And once your nightmare meter reaches 100%, you get zoned out and you wake up and you have to go back in and do it again. Well, I kept doing that. And then I stepped into this like gas or water or whatever the hell it was red, and then it zoned me out again. And it's like, oh crap. So I go to the thing and there's brambles in the way, and I see, oh, there's brambles. And I try to like claw it, I try to cast stuff at it. I can't, it's not clickable, it's not selectable, it's nothing. Like, well, another fail again. Great, wonderful. So finally, I'm like paying attention. There's a druid that's sitting in the middle of the place, and he's surrounded by this water, and I have to sneak past the guys. And then I had to finally go online and look it up. It said that one of the spells, this status ailment removal spell, is used to actually free the druid from the brambles. I'm like, oh great. So then he gets free from the brambles. And then it clears away for the other set of brambles, and I can go through. And now I have to sneak through again because there's all these oozes, and these oozes leave these long trails. And if you hit the ooze or if you hit the trail, it causes damage, and damage increases your nightmare meter. But your nightmare meter is constantly increasing anyway, so it's always increasing. I'm like, all right. So I got hit by the ooze. It was enough to wake me up again, and I screwed up. I'm like, great, freaking fantastic. Let me just go do this again. And I did it again. I made it past the oozes, but I got hit by an ooze on the way out. It's still I just enough to like find out what's going on. And it's like, join me over here. So I went to sprint, and there's all these treants there, and one of them roots me right in place, and then hits me. And of course, what does it do? It wakes me up. So I'm awake again. I'm like, oh, I just want to go play the game because you really don't get anything. Like, you don't get anything because you just go talk. You go to Dalaran and they say, go do this artifact thing. I'm like, oh, okay. And then, of course, the last phase of that was the healing thing, and then I screwed that up a couple times. So, all in all, I spent probably half an hour to 45 minutes just like trying to do that quest. And I didn't even play the game yet. At least I don't consider playing the game because I wasn't actually out questing and doing things and slaughtering demons and healing things and collecting things and whatever else it is that WoW usually makes you go do. But I made it past it. I made it past the second artifact quest, I made it past the third artifact quest, and I'm finally, the rust is coming off. Like, I'm starting to feel like myself again when it comes down to playing WoW. I've been playing for a couple days now. And it's starting to feel good. It's starting to feel good again. I'm happy I came back. And of course I have Daryl and JD both. If you've ever listened to, again, 2 Artists, 1 Cartridge, which doesn't really exist anymore, but I'll say it again. But they were both co-hosts at some point on the show, so it's nice to have the family back together. Now, if I can just convince my brother to get back in and play, which is not going to happen, but it's worth a shot. But that's it. So those are like the opening times with this, and I think what's going to end up happening now is I'm just going to start actually streaming and then having everything come here because YouTube Gaming, of course, posts everything right to YouTube when you're done with it. So I was like, that's really cool. So I might get back into streaming and go to see the antics and everything else as a veteran player who left for a long time and then decides to come back as a rookie all over again. So it's just like riding a bike, right? No. But thank you everyone for listening again, and if you do join the streams, pay attention to the channel. I'll keep everything posted. You find us, the Power Sign Cleared on Facebook. I'm trying to get active again on social media again to get stuff on the page. But come join us, and if you're on Ghostlands, hey, come say hello. Valdeen, Valdeen. That's me. That's my main character that I pretty much only play as right now. But come say hello, come drop in, and we'll have some fun. So, game on, everyone.